Creatives are a very big aspect of what drive conversion in the stores. And the creatives have to align with your metadata. You can't focus on one feature in your metadata and then focus on another feature in your creative, because you break the funnel and break the experience. We want to evolve creatives over time. There are two big mistakes that people make when they're designing creative. Number one, they get what I call Facebook disease. Basically, they're launching a new app in the store, and because Facebook had a simple icon with a letter in it, they feel that everyone will recognize their app if they take a similar approach. The problem is Facebook was a brand that the world recognized before they had that. Everyone knows what that is. If you're launching an app and the icon is some unrecognizable character, the world will not know what your app is about. It's important to understand what will drive conversion for your specific product or your core features before you make that decision about your icon. Half of the apps in the store have an icon that is not the same as their company logo. Number two is sometimes you'll encounter companies that are building creative and they're acting as if they're creating a box that's going to sit in a shelf at Best Buy for a year and never change. In the world of the App Store and Play Store, if you're in a competitive category, people are updating and testing new creative sometimes as frequently as 2 or 3 times a month. They're thinking of this as a constantly evolving process where we are learning what colors work best, what layouts work best, what features have the most organic demand. They're adapting to seasonality. They're adapting to their competitors who are running A/B testing all the time and evolving their market position in the store, and they might have to evolve along with that. You could have creative that converts well enough to get you into the top 5 on a keyword that has a lot of volume. And next month, your competitors could change the background of their screenshots from red to blue, catch a 2% conversion lift from that, and then you end up in the top 10 instead of the top 5 because they took oxygen away from your app. They took market share and clicks away from your app. This is part of the reason ASO is a process. By virtue of the fact that other people are aggressive, you have to be aggressive, because as they change and evolve and learn new things that work better, if you're not evolving your store positioning, you essentially are watching your app sink in the rankings over time because they're getting better conversion rates than you are. Always be experimenting, always be A/B testing. The App Store and Play Store are unique because you get one landing page, unlike the web where you can send users anywhere to go experience a product or a feature. Everything that you do on that landing page impacts your merchandising in the store. It impacts the cost of your user acquisition because everyone goes on that page. Even something as simple as seasonality. We worked with an app and we changed their icon to have a pumpkin in it for Halloween, and it increased their conversion for 28 days by about 30%. Then we took that out and we replaced it with something else for the next holiday. Those kind of things are really important, and we want to adapt to them. The other thing is that when you think about recency, a lot of people say Apple and Google prefer apps that are updated more recently. It's important for you to know that it's not about updating with new features and adding code to the app. What Apple and Google are really doing is they're saying, how old is your metadata? How old is the information that you've provided us on your store listing? What happens is over time, as your metadata ages, Apple and Google devalue it. They give it demerit points, essentially. You could have a great optimization today, and if you don't touch it for 6 months, simply because you didn't touch it, you're going to perform less well compared to other people that might have updated more recently. That doesn't mean you have to dramatically change the app's positioning every month, because that wouldn't make sense. But it does mean you have to evolve. You have to iterate. You have to keep things fresh. It's also important to know paid search. If you're a new app to the store, the difference between running search ads and not running search ads is the difference between getting fully indexed and ranking for keywords that you care about in a meaningful way in 90 days versus waiting 6 months for it to happen. That's because Apple and Google, when you launch a new app, have no conversion data about your app. And the priority needs to be focusing on channels that drive more click data in that Apple will understand. $25,000 of spend in search ads is more valuable than $100,000 of spend in Facebook, because Apple and Google do not care about data that comes from Facebook, but they do care about data that comes from their own paid search channels. That's not to say Facebook's not a great user acquisition channel. The challenge is the only value Facebook or ad networks provide when it comes to the store is if you achieve a certain volume and velocity, you might get a higher chart ranking. And that's okay, but to maintain that kind of volume and velocity, if you're not organically generating a lot of downloads in the store, can be extremely costly because you have to keep that spend going every day. Whereas with search, if you can build up relevancy, that has more staying power. It's less transactional. You do get other benefits from paid campaigns. Let me give you an example. If you run a search ads campaign, Apple will actually tell you what your conversion rate and click rate per keyword is. They won't do that if you're just looking at their organic console. If you're doing search ads, you get to run A/B testing in the search result by testing different creative sets against different ad groups and keywords. You can't do that organically in the Apple App Store. If you run a Facebook campaign, you get great demographic data about which audiences convert better. That's valuable. Apple and Google won't give you that kind of data in quite as useful of a way if you're just running paid search campaigns, your app for merchandising. There are data-driven reasons why you'd want to try these channels, but it's important to understand from a marketing strategy what your priorities are before you start spending money. At the end of the day, we look at ASO as a foundational piece of mobile marketing. What you do on that page, because it is the only landing page you get, determines whether your cost of user acquisition makes sense. It determines whether your organic coefficients make sense. If you're spending money on paid marketing and your competitor is getting 2 organic installs for every paid install, but you're getting none, you're essentially paying a lot more for your marketing than they are, and then they can afford to outspend you. Even if your focus is getting a lot of scale with paid marketing, what you do with your store listing really matters. That's why everyone pays attention to it.
Really appreciate your sharing of this expertise, and the eloquence of which it's been delivered is really wonderful. Personally, thank you for those updates to the PBS Kids icons. Really like the hearts for Valentine's Day, if you're a part of that. We see those a lot in this house. A huge thank you.
It was great meeting y'all.
For more from Slide UX, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share.